Hello, my dear students. How are you all? I hope you all are doing great. So, as you can see on your screen, what we are going to do in today's session, we are going to learn a new chapter. And in this new chapter, we are going to see how important water is for us. Okay, and what are the different uses of water and the sources of water, from where we get water. Okay, so let's start the chapter. Water is one of our basic need, as you all know. Water is one of those among our basic need which we need for our survival. We cannot live without it. Without water, there is no life. Okay? Animals and plants also require water to survive. Not only human beings, but animals and plants also live water for their survival. Now, what are the different uses of water? We use water for drinking, cooking, washing and bathing, and for many other purposes. Farmers depend on water to grow crops. Now see, my dear students, why we use water? Because we need water for bathing, for cooking, for washing. Okay, so all this purpose we need water. Okay, and apart from this, we also need water to fulfill our other purposes. Farmers totally dependent upon water for their farming. Okay, so now let's see what are the different uses of water. The first and foremost, or I say the basic need of water is for our drinking. Okay, each and every living creature of this world need water for drinking. Okay, and after drinking we need for cooking, then washing our clothes, okay, washing our utensils, etc., for bathing, for crops, okay, watering plants, for animals, for putting out fire. Whenever there was a fire incident occurred, okay, we call firefighters. Okay, now these all are about uses of water. Now what is our sources of water, from where we are going to get our water? What are the sources of our water? Let's see. A significant portion of the earth is covered by water. If we were divide the earth into 10 parts, 7 of them would be covered by the water. Now you can see, my dear student, our earth, which is in a spherical shape, okay, our whole earth is covered with a significant amount, means in a maximum amount of water it is covered with. Okay, for example, if we divide our earth in 10 parts, okay, so out of 10, 7 parts, okay, out of 10, 7 parts are covered with water, only 3 parts covered with land. Okay, however, most of the earth water is found in oceans and seas, which is salty and unsuitable for use. The water that we drink and utilize is known as a fresh water. We obtain this fresh water from sources such as rivers, lakes, ponds, wells and hand pumps. Okay, but you know what? This 7 parts which is totally covered with water, those waters mainly covered in a form of ocean, seas, and you all know, my dear children, the ocean water and the sea water is salty, okay, which we can't drink. Okay, and the water which is covered in 10 which is covered in 3 parts, only we can drink that portion of water, and that portion of water is covered in a form of fresh water. And fresh water, where is it located? It is located in the form of rivers, lakes, ponds, wells and hand pumps. Here you can see these are the sources of fresh water. A river is the largest source of fresh water, then lake, then ponds, then wells and lastly hand pumps. Okay, my dear children, let's proceed further. Now here comes, how can we get water? Okay, let's see. Rain is the primary source of the water. Now what is the primary source of water? Rain. Okay, rainfall is the most primary source of water. Water from the seas, rivers, lakes and ponds evaporate due to the heat of the sun forming clouds. Now, how rainfall occurs? When the water from the oceans and seas evaporate due to the excessive heat, it stored in the clouds and then those clouds burst into rainfall. This clouds composed of millions of tiny droplets of water. Okay, in that cloud there are millions of tiny droplets of water. When the clouds become heavy, they bring rain. When it rains, all the rivers, lakes and ponds are replenished with water. And when there is a rainfall, all the rivers, lakes, ponds, all these areas covered with a plenty of water. This water is then filtered, purified and supplied to our houses through the pipeline. So my dear children, how we are going to get water? Okay, we are not storing the rainfall water, then how we are getting water in our tap, which is at our home? See, this is the process of supply of water. Okay, this is the process. How? First of all, this is the source. Okay, means there is an area where rainwater was stored, and after rainwater storation, here comes the process of sedimentation. Okay, rainfall means the water which we get from rainfall are pure, we're 100% pure in nature. But when there is a rainfall, all those waters comes down on the ground. Okay, and at ground there are many millions of dirt particles, soil particles, sand particles are present. Okay, which mixed up with rainwater. Okay, so due to the process of sedimentation, all those impurities are removed. Okay, due to the process of sedimentation, all the impurities which is present in that rainfall water removed. Okay, and after sedimentation process, here comes the filtration process. Okay, large number of particles, large number of dust or sand particles which is present in water removed with the help of sedimentation process. But what sorry, but what about the particles which got salt, okay, which mixed up with water? Okay, so to remove all those soluble dust particles, sand particles from the water, we do filtration process. In filtration process there are 3 or 4 layers, okay, which filter that waters. Okay, and after sedimentation process, after filtration process, those pure waters are stored in a tank. Here you can see those pure water stored in a tank, and through this tank those pure waters are supplied to our house. See, we get a supply of water. So this is the process of supply of water. Okay, now let's proceed. In some villages people draw people draw water from wells while others use hand pump as underground water. As you know, in village there is a well. Okay, in village there may be 2 or 3 wells. Okay, so village people usually get their water through wells, while some have hand pump at their own houses. Some areas do not have enough water. People of these areas walk long distance to bring water. So we must save water. Now, my dear children, you can see in this picture those 2 women carrying a heavy vessel on their head to store water, to collect water. Because, my dear children, at towns we get water from one tap. But you know what? In some portion of our India, okay, in some portion of Maharashtra, specifically Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Rajasthan, there is a scarcity of water. Okay, in those areas, people didn't get enough water to drink. That's why we must save our water. Okay, if you are brushing your teeth, okay, don't open your tap unnecessary. Okay, use water wisely because we have to save our water for our future generation. Okay, after that, here comes the concept of clear water. Now, what is the meaning of clean water? See, water needs to be boiled before drinking. Boiled water should be filtered and stored in a clean vessel. Now you all know, if you want to get 100% pure water, then your drinkable water should be boiled. Okay, and then those boiled water, those cleaned water should be stored in a clean vessel. Water purifiers are used to purify water. If we drink impure water, we may fall sick. Now, see, my dear students, this is the concept of boiling water. You are boiling water, then that boiled water cool down, and we can drink it. And those boiled water stored in a water filter. Okay, you have seen the water purifiers in your own home. Okay, this is a shape of Milton. Okay, and this is the water purifier. So all these are the sources through which we can clean our water. Okay, so now, my dear children, this is all about in this chapter. Again, you have to go thoroughly through this chapter and complete your exercises. Okay, my dear students, and after that you have to revise this chapter. Okay, so this is all for today's session. See you in the next class. Till then, take very good care of yourself. Bye.